Hello, and welcome to another stream. Another solo play brought to you by yours truly, Tabletop Junkie. And this time it's going to be a different type of story. Same universe, same location, same area, just from a different person's perspective. This episode is called The Wolf in Chicago. Our story begins with a very striking and beautiful dominating woman named Lydia. She begins her nights as every night, beginning with her hips in a very circular motion with someone she knows in her bed. She has been blessed with very striking looks for someone of her stature. So almost any man would be happy to be with her. They look upon her as if she is the goddess of, the Greek goddess Aphrodite's herself, or the goddess Luna, the goddess of the moon, or in their culture, as wolves would say it, the moon goddess. At the brink of bringing this man practically to a howl as well as herself, she topples over to the side and smiles and asks the gentleman if he's okay. He has a hard time catching his breath, and he looks at her as if he is in love. And he says, "I'm doing great. Was that good for you?" "Oh, that was fantastic." She begins getting up and putting on her clothes almost immediately, not giving any time for any kind of conversation to begin. She looks at her comrade and says, "You need to be out of here by morning, all right? Why don't you take the night and rest? But I got to get to work." He looks at her strangely and says, "But you're not like any other woman I've ever met." She's like, "Oh, I bet, especially even by our standards." He's like, "Well, I'm a wolf. You're a wolf." "Stop. I've heard it all before. Every man thinking they can sweep me off my feet. Every person trying to get me associated with their pack. The truth is, with my tribe, I am trying to make a pack of my own for my tribe. But that's the thing. I'm an alpha, and I'm not taking orders by no man or any other woman. I've already invited you to my home. I'm asking you politely to leave by morning." As she finishes getting dressed, she puts on her shoes, grabs her keys, and hops on her Honda. She starts it up, hears the motor roaring as she puts on a helmet, and she takes off to her job. She comes to a nightclub. Music is raving. People are hot and sweaty on this night. It is kind of like a Chicago summer, so there's no snow or no fall leaves, so it's very warm. Once she parks the bike, she takes off the helmet, locks everything, locks the bike down, takes the keys, and begins heading into the nightclub. Once inside the nightclub, she comes across this lady, this other beautiful lady that she has actually been speaking to for quite some time now. She is a nurse at the local hospital of the Chicago General. Her name is Madeline. Madeline sees Lydia and goes, "Lydia, sweetheart, it's nice to see you," as she kisses her on the cheek, and Lydia kisses back. "Madeline, how was work today?" "Oh, it was good. It was very good. We ended up losing someone, but, comes with the job, work in a hospital, gunshots, death happens all the time, disease, famine, I assure you get it." Lydia's like, "Yeah, I get it. Trust me. My line of work has me seeing a lot of death these days. So, what should we do tonight? I'm feeling kind of, you know, extra special. She's like, well, I got something planned for you and me a little bit later. Just let's enjoy the music. The music continues as Lydia begins trying to make passes to Madeline to make sure that she is completely off her game. She's doing this, of course, for a reason. She's been seeing Madeline for a few months now, kind of scoping out. She knows about her job. See, Madeline isn't just someone that's a normal human, or at least Lydia doesn't think she is. Lydia thinks she's something else, but not sure what. Gonna make a quick roll real quick. Madeline is completely taken by Lydia's looks and striking demeanor. She realizes that Madeline is not any other woman, and she is almost madly in love with her. Lydia looks at her and notices that she's completely enthralled by her seduction moves. After they stay for a minute and each have a drink, Lydia turns around and says, why don't we head back to my place and we have a good time? Madeline says that it sounds wonderful, but let me get in my car. I can follow you. She's like, no, nonsense. Just leave your car here. We'll take my bike. Lydia shows Madeline her bike, and she is just overjoyed with that she has gotten a woman like Lydia. She looks at Lydia and says, you're kind of manly with that, aren't you? So I'm more manly than most men. I'll make you feel good. Madeline quickly straddles the bike. Lydia has her put on a helmet. She puts on an additional helmet that she had stored away somewhere. She starts up the bike, and the two are off into the night. They travel for about 30 minutes until they come to an abandoned warehouse. Lydia shuts off the bike, and Madeline looks around and says, funny, I thought we were going back to an apartment. Is this where you live? Lydia looks up and notices the moon in the phase that she needs it to be in. Rage begins filling in her head. Then it's beginning to fill her up. More and more, her blood begins to boil. And before Madeline knows it, hair and her body begins to expand and crack, bones moving. Madeline begins screaming and screaming again until Lydia turns at her and says, shut up, bitch. I know you're not human. After the fangs begin to form on Lydia, Madeline begins to smile, and then her bones begin to break as her spine protrudes into nearly 4 different directions. Her legs begin to merge together into a hideous form. Eyes begin to sprout up onto the forehead. More talons beginning to form where her hands was. More legs. Within mere moments, she resembles something from a human and a spider, while Lydia takes the form of sort of a human mixed with a wolf. The two take a moment, and their true forms are revealed. The fangs, the blackness of Madeline, the dark talons and skin and legs. She looks at Lydia and go, you're a wolf. You totally caught me by surprise. Lydia, with no no chance of talking, finishes her form and this human in this wolfman form. It is known as a guru form, a form between both human and wolf, filled with nothing but rage. All right, I got to make a couple rolls here. And let's see here. I'm looking something up. Just give me a second. There we are. This is what I needed right here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Lydia, in her form, lets off this inhuman roar, louder, like she's the dominating beast over this spider human looking creature that has actually grown a little bit in size. The spider creature known as Madeline hisses back as Lydia lunges to attack. Okay. As Madeline tries to defend with one of her talons, Lydia latches right onto it and severs it from her, falling back down to the ground on her like hind legs, mixed kind of like on her hind legs with her hands as she spits out the arm. Madeline, severely injured, is going to try and counterattack what she just did, as she's not really paying attention at this moment, as she did just finish ripping someone's arm off. As Madeline tries to attack with the other talon, Lydia, without even a second to think, managed to latch onto that other arm once again, severing it. At this point, the talons are completely off the spider, and all she has is her fangs and her fangs and her legs to walk away. She hisses and screams and screeches in pain. "You wolf bitch! I'm gonna definitely eat you once I get the chance." And she begins attempting to sink her fangs right into Lydia. She attempts to sink her fangs right into Lydia, but Lydia manages to stay at a short of a distance. Both each growl and hissing one another. Without Lydia knowing, she begins to launch right at the spider monster. Madeline catches her in some type of spectral webbing, or at least attempts to. However, Lydia manages to dodge and take her right to her face and bring her down to her knees. And before Madeline could do anything or say much more, Lydia already bit into her face, severing her head from her body, and began shredding her, limb from limb. By dawn, she wakes up in the field next to her bike with no clothes on. She notices that the remains of the host are still in one piece. She looks at this lady as she looks like she died, scared and alone. She puts her hand on her and says, "Madeline, if any part of you was ever attracted to me, I hope I got to meet the real you. I'm sorry that, I'm just sorry." She goes over to the bike and empties out one of the storage containers that she has spare clothes in. She quickly turns on the bike and leaves the body alone, leaving virtually no evidence behind. All they're going to pick up is some obscured saliva, at most. That's the thing about werewolves, is their genetics, even if tested, doesn't show up in normal DNA testing. Kind of a supernatural trait. She returns back to her apartment. The gentleman she had the night before has pretty much left for the morning, as he was instructed to. She begins turning on some TV, and they hear on the news on how missing people are coming up missing all over the area. They're not sure what to do. Police are trying to work around the clock to find these missing people and to stop them from going missing. Some are people from police stations, some are people from actual jobs, some are the homeless, some are teenage kids. She begins to wonder what's going on in the world. She does know some things, that she and her people are not the only ones that share a life with the humans. She hasn't even considered going after them. There's other things from a spirit realm that she has to watch out for. Azuls, and they're called Azuls. And there's other creatures, such as rats. Let me see if I can get their name. What was the other name? The Azuls, which are considered to be spider spirits, as well as the Beshalu, known as the rat shadow spirits. These are what the wolves fight to keep at bay from crossing over into the spirit from the spirit realm into the human. They take human hosts as they cross over. They're sort of kind of like spirit spiders and rats. They infect a host and begin messing with someone's territory from time to time. They particularly don't care for werewolves. Or any other supernatural creature for that matter. Lydia begins wondering what the vampires are doing. She does know about vampires. She doesn't know about their organizations or operations. But it seems like their news is spreading across the streets. She consults her storyboard that actually talks about a man named Jason Pierce, who was attacked by a so-called vampire that looked uglier than sin, and that this one vampire killed his entire station, or at least killed his 2 co-workers, 1 innocent person, and a person they had in holding before he was able to subdue this so-called beast. There is another story clipping that she posts right next to it. There was a second attack on Precinct 13. And this time the captain was gone. Captain was the one in head of the evidence of the so-called skeletal slime pile. Vampires. They're not supposed to be in the open, just like we aren't. She spends most of the day eating, reading, nothing out of the unusual before nightfall. She finds a location. As she exhales, she finds the location of potentially where these vampires could be originating from. She notices there's a club nearby. Chicago, big city, one area, multiple clubs, all in competition with each other. Probably could spot a Fanger right over there. Think I'm gonna go check it out. As night begins to fall, she has a full dinner, and she gets outside and hops on her bike and takes off. She makes it to the club that was near almost dead center where all the disappearances are happening. She begins standing out front, waiting to see if somebody comes and snatches her up. The moon is in the final night of the phase she definitely needs it in. Or at least loves it in. Quiet night. People singing, people dancing, people partying. She hears something from the dark alley. "Hello," she says. Nobody answers back. She says it again. "Is there anyone there? Hello?" Someone goes, "Help. I need help." Pretty sure that this person doesn't need any help in a dark alley of a club. She goes right back there. and she sees something in a black jacket hunched over on itself. How can I help you? I just need you. I need you. You need me what? To die. The creature reveals itself to be an ugly vampire or an ugly beast. And he stares at her with furious rage and hunger, blood dripping from his fangs. She smiles and says, well, I've got bad news for you, buddy. Not an easy target here. So, let's see. Alright. She pulls out a 9mm pistol. And begins to shoot at the vampire, however, or at the beast, of which she recognizes is a vampire. However, she missed a shot. She's like, damn. She begins hearing a laugh like a hyena. She begins hearing a laugh like a hyena as she was struck right to the face. She falls back into some trash. She's like, oh, okay. Alright. I see how this is. She puts down the gun and she begins... Let's see. And she begins changing once again. Bones breaking and crackling. As she does this, the vampire attempts to attack her in mid-transformation. And manages to stop her from transforming even further. She's in her near human form called the Dalu, with very few wolf features. He looks at her with surprise. So, I didn't think I was going to kill a werewolf tonight, and I don't really care on feeding on your kind. She attempts to attack the vampire while in this form. Not as strong as she would if she actually fully was able to transform into either a form next further than this. But with werewolves, you see, they have 5 different forms. They're human and they're wolf. The beginning and the end. And then 3 forms between, known as Dalu, Garu, and Urshul. He manages to stop the form right here. She tries to attack the vampire, but it is no use. He's just naturally quicker and possibly stronger. Or evenly matched, as they just keep striking nothing but air. He's like, this is what werewolves are like? We're stronger than you if we can reach even further. But I don't have time for that right now. Or do I? Within a moment's notice, she manages to transform further. And he was not able to react quick enough to her transformation. As he goes and tries to smack her, she manages to bite his arm and take him down to the ground. She's got him held, and he is unable to, or at least he attempts to break free. And is no luck. She munches down easily again, right on his arm. He attempts another time to break free from her grasp. And she munches down again. The vampire screams in horror as that his arm has been munched down several times and is barely hanging on by a piece of flesh. She separates his body from his arm and scoots him across the alleyway. Blood is everywhere, and she throws the arm into the trash and nearly approaches him. He looks at her in fear and tries to beg for his life. But it is no use. He's like, "No, please don't. I'm sorry. I won't come after your kind again. I won't come after your kind again." Uneating, she ends up attacking him while on the ground. And attacks the throat. So that way he could not scream as she finishes the job. Once again, morning comes. She does end up changing back. Nobody noticed or heard the screams from the night beyond the loud music. However, her bike did get a ticket. It was there all night past hours, and while she was sleeping ever so soundly from eradicating a vampire, they gave her a parking ticket. Well, I guess I can't beat anything. But it does look like vampires are running out of control in this area. She knows what she must do now. She doesn't know if she's going to stay or what, but she has to send a message to someone. Starts up her bike and heads home for the day. Once home, she manages to get on her cell phone and she texts someone. This person has unknown name next to it. But it also has in parentheses, "Dear friend." She spends the day waiting for his text. And when night begins to fall once more, a message comes through with an address. And what's the address go to, she doesn't know. She looks it up on the GPS and notices it's in an abandoned place. Somewhere, some abandoned factory out in the middle of nowhere on the other side of Chicago. Not very far from where she left Madeline's body. Lydia just thinks to herself and goes, "Well, I gotta talk to them. Gotta figure out what's going on." And she leaves into the darkness to speak with this unknown person. The scene cuts to blackness as the story of Lydia begins. The wolf in Chicago. And that is everything I have at this time, telling the story of this beautiful lady who is also a werewolf and comes with a lot of baggage. So, gentlemen, beware. But so does everyone else who apparently is in Chicago, such as Jason Pierce and Rick, who are still on the run from losing to one of those Nosferatu that she quickly dispatched of. What comes next? Find out next time. And for those who tuned in, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the story. I did do some rolling, so I hope everything came out to everyone's liking. If not, I do apologize. But that is storytelling for you. You guys have a great and wonderful evening.